The American electoral system is a weird, arcane thing, and primary politics even more so. Honestly, I could spend the next 15 minutes just trying to explain the caucus process, and chances are I'd still only be scratching the surface. So, I gotta hand it to the Iowa Democratic Party for managing to make things even more confusing with its half-baked attempt to bring modern technology into the process. It took the party nearly a week to certify the results and award Pete Buttigieg the most delegates. It's worth noting that most news outlets, including the Associated Press, which usually verifies election results, have so far refused to declare a winner, and now Bernie Sanders' campaign is asking that some precincts be recanvassed. It's been over a week, and this thing shows no signs of ending. How do we get here? Well, like so many tragedies, this is a story of good intentions gone awry. We need to start by going back to 2016. After a narrow loss to Hillary Clinton, the Bernie Sanders campaign and many of his supporters cried foul, citing anecdotal reports of issues at caucus sites and institutional opposition to Bernie's candidacy. This led the DNC to institute new guidelines on tracking and reporting voting results. So, in an effort to streamline the convoluted caucus process and improve transparency, the state party turned to Shadow Incorporated, a software company dedicated to supporting progressive political movements. But almost from moment one, there were reasons to be concerned. The app was reportedly developed over just 2 months, and the party paid only around $60,000 for Shadow to build it. That would be an insanely small amount of money no matter what, but especially considering this thing needed to record and transmit election results to party leaders. It needed to be the technological backbone of our democratic process. The app was presented to precinct reporters just weeks before the caucuses, and there was no dry run or testing done at scale. And remember, the people who work these precincts tallying votes are volunteers. Many of them are older and maybe not so comfortable with technology. In short, the Iowa Democratic Party was relying on a rush job of an app developed on the cheap that nobody knew how to use.
As chair of the party, I apologize deeply for this.
So it's no surprise then that things quickly went off the rails last Monday. For starters, the app was only made available through a testing platform, which made it very complicated to get on people's phones. Some people reported trouble logging into the app. Many of those who succeeded in signing in couldn't send data back to party headquarters, and even those who did get that far could only send partial data back due to a coding issue. And when precinct reporters tried to go the old school route and call in the results, they were met with clogged phone lines and couldn't get through. And those on the receiving end of the calls needed to manually enter the votes into a secure system. But the computers relied on two-factor authentication codes sent to their phones, which they were told not to bring into the secure boiler room in Des Moines. Others, desperate to get the results through somehow, were told to email images of voter sheets, except nobody bothered to check the inbox until Tuesday morning, at which point, according to the New York Times, there were over 700 unread emails. This was supposed to be Iowa's shining moment, an opportunity for the state to show democracy in action and demonstrate the value of transparency. In the past, Iowa only reported the number of delegates awarded. This was going to be the first time that Iowa also announced the results from the initial caucusing round and the number of votes at the end of the night after realignment. Instead, Iowa reported nothing. This, of course, led to all sorts of conspiracy theories. People were blaming the Russians, the Chinese, nefarious party insiders hell-bent on destroying Bernie Sanders. The only explanation people seemed unwilling to consider was plain old human error and poor planning. But I'm here to tell you, that's all it was. There's no indication whatsoever that vote tallies were compromised or that there was any foul play. That being said, it's also been widely reported that there was no significant penetration testing done on the Shadows app, and that there was no third-party auditing of any kind, even by the Department of Homeland Security. I think it's safe to say everything about the Iowa caucus in 2020 has been an unmitigated disaster. And that's extremely problematic, not just for the immediate future of the nomination process, but for our democracy as a whole. Accurately or not, allies of Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders have spent the last 4+ years making the case that our electoral system is broken, rigged, and not to be trusted. And this meltdown only adds fuel to the fire. Look, our current system is objectively outdated and a bit rickety, and modernizing it through a mix of technology and political reforms is absolutely necessary. This was the first tentative step in that direction, but the poor planning and even poorer execution by the Iowa Democratic Party, Shadow Incorporated, an acronym, a nonprofit investor in Shadow, has probably ensured that no serious attempts will be made to bring technology into the voting process anytime soon. The Nevada Democratic Party was also planning to use Shadow's app for its caucuses, and has already decided to cancel those plans. And nobody else is rushing to be next in line.